It has been a very special week again, like that week of the last video. I've been working in silence, very focused. I've completed 2 paintings, a painting of our old, I think 16th century old town hall, maybe 17th century. And the younger building, one of the government buildings, that larger one that I started working over in the last video. I think it's from the early 20s maybe, from last century. I'm not very sure, I have to check that out. And there is another one still in the making. It's this one here on the table. And of course, when I put on that camera to tell something about it, I am asking myself, why am I painting architecture so much? I can tell you it started when I came here to The Hague for the academy, the art academy, and after the art academy I started working with a gallery, an art gallery in this town, and the owner, he asked me to make more cityscapes from this town. He said that's more interesting for our clients, and for me it has never been a problem. I'm here every day and the paintings arise around me while I'm hazing for an appointment or walking to the grocery store or whatever. There are those sudden special moments that the painting appears, and you have these cell phones and you take your picture and you put it in a folder, and then after a month you download all those pictures and then you see them again and you can select. And you can agree that that moment showed the perfect painting for me. But before I came here, I lived with my parents and my brother, and that's very close to the woods, and I was always in the woods as a teenager. I liked to stroll through the woods alone, and for that reason, of course, the pictures that I made those days and in the early academy years were wood paintings, landscapes, many trees, and yeah, I like that organic design, not made by humans, but made by nature. And trees give a perfect ability to create depth, and creating depth is maybe one of the most magical things you do as a painter. It's so exciting to put a flat white piece of paper on a board and then you start drawing, and then you use certain colors and you create depth, you see distance. When you do it really well, you can almost hear the ambience of a forest, you know. But I really don't mind to spend more time in painting architecture and cityscapes. And that for me, maybe the important element in observing architecture while I'm painting it is that architecture tells us a lot about who we are, you know. It's not made by nature, but it's still interesting. It's designed by people, by a culture, a century, a period. It's history, but it's also showing a lot of our inner self because it has a function. It was built always with a certain function and a story that was told, and the architecture had to listen to this and to design a building that gave the opportunity to work there, to live there, to welcome people, and it had to show a certain state too, you know what I mean? Some architectures, some buildings are really easygoing to enter, and other imposing buildings are really serious, and you feel that you become a different person entering the building. So that makes architecture really interesting for me. It tells us more about who we are, and it tells us, when you paint older buildings, it tells you, of course, a lot about the people from those days, when someone designed, or people together designed, the building that I paint. It's a study too, of course. You always start drawing, and then the drawing is almost like copying the design. You're studying on it, and you see all those decorations. And then, for example, that old town hall has really a nice Baroque 16th century style, and it shows so many decorations and information. There is a lot of information showed on this wall, but in a very natural way, maybe by rules designers used those days, I don't know. But it looks so very strong. You see that the important details, they immediately catch your eye. And the maybe less important decorations or stories hidden in the design, you find them after a few days or a few weeks later. And with those newer designs, architecture, that's different. You see less decorations, and that makes it very hard to paint modern architecture. Of course, there are no decorations at all. And those decorations, they tell a lot. They're not only nice to see, but they tell a lot about the style of those days and the time people put in the building. And every detail sometimes tells a real story, you know. People can tell you about it. So that makes it interesting to paint, and it is also a very nice... every detail is a nice brick of the building to build the building in your painting. So it starts with that study, with a pencil on paper, and when you think you have the building on the paper, then the painting starts. And in my art, it's most of the time done in watercolor. And then the process changes. Then I'm not copying that design anymore, but I'm making a painting of it. And as I tell you more, the first thing maybe I'm doing then is trying to follow the speed of my eye. I tell always about that, I think, in my videos. So I try to be very honest to what is catching my attention, and I immediately work there on that part of the paper. And while I'm doing this, I try to do it as fast as I can. And it's about balance. Doing something over here needs some attention on the other side too. And to make sure that I don't forget to find balance in everything, in composition, in drawing, in contrast, but also in color. I think I like to work with wet paint on an easel, for example, so that all that wet paint is dripping from the paper while I'm painting. And then there is a new problem in the process that I have to hide or that I have to fix. You have always more possibilities to do something with those accidents. Today I put a brush with a very pure, nice blue color in it on the painting tool to show myself how gray I'm working with my grays. I want to see a very bright, pure color in it too, and I like this blue. So I let it be there, that brush, and all the pigment will drip into the paper. These are just playful things to let me see new possibilities and to let me focus more on the painting and not that much on that drawing anymore. That's on the paper, under the paint. Otherwise, it's becoming a colored drawing, and I want to make a painting. And a painting is made by painting, that adventure, that playing with color, contrast, composition, light and dark. Do you see those red, I don't know the English word for it, the red doors? This is all about abstract placing of a red signal color in your composition. And it makes the painting. It's the only pure color in the painting next to the warm gray. And placing these details and placing all the details is very natural but also precise activity, which is making the composition perfect. So it's not copying the build. It's not copying a design, make a very organized drawing and then putting color over it, but it's painting over and over and over the drawing until I don't see the drawing anymore, and then I have to find out where the windows, the shadows, the colors find their place in the painting. That's a very abstract way of, it's an abstract approach, and it feels very natural to me, and it feels like you are closer to that architect who once decided to put it here and to put it there, to make this window smaller and this one bigger, you know what I mean? And I have to feel this when I paint these larger architecture paintings. I have to find out again where I need to place it, and maybe I change it for the painting. That's possible. I never laid the picture, the painting next to the photograph, so I've never checked that. But of course I change it to make a perfect balance. And for me that's why it tells us who we are. Architecture tells quite a lot of our inner self, because we work in these buildings, and we have to feel at home among all these buildings in our town. And sometimes there are buildings that people will never get used to, and continue complaining about an ugly building somewhere in town. There was a building next to this old town hall in the 90s, and I remember sketching there on the spot as an art academy student. I used to draw and to paint outside. And then many people stood next to me, and they were watching what I was doing, and they asked me why I was sketching this very boring, ugly building next to this old town hall. And I said, well, I like the light and the shadows, you know. But everyone told me that this building was so horrible. And 10 years later, the building had to make place for another building that looked actually better next to this beautiful classic building. So, you know, we have to get used to the styles and to feel at home. And it's strange to say, but while painting all those windows and working longer on a certain detail, an interesting painting of building needs to show this state of mind, this state of being, that it shows only the important parts, and the other parts, they're only there to show the important elements, but they don't need attention themselves. So that's the perfect painting for me these days with these compositions, that I am finding a balance in all those parts helping each other to show the beauty of the building, the strength of the building, and all the details that are not interesting are only helping the interesting elements. Well, it's already very late, it's getting dark. I really needed my time for these paintings these weeks, so there's more to tell about it, but I have to do this in the next video because I really need to go now. I'm by train today, so I have to hurry. Thank you very much for joining me again this week. Don't forget to check out the longer video of this painting and the other paintings. You find it in the member section. I will leave the link again for those who want to become a special member. And the others who are already a special member, thank you very much. It's nice to welcome you every 2 weeks in another video, and you really support this channel. So thank you for that. Enjoy the weekend, and we see each other in the next video in 2 weeks. Bye.